And thank you all very much for taking your time to come on a Saturday morning. Kurt, I appreciate you being here, and Mindy. And so we've got two new people here, Pam and Jim from the Silver Springs who came over today. Jim and Richard Wilmot are on their way.
Okay.
They got lost. But I appreciate that very much. It means a lot to me that you guys are here. Tom Muller's here. He wasn't here with last time, and Roger, Gail's husband's here with us now. I wanted to share a word with you out of the Word of God, and Donnie's right. You know, we know that with God all things are possible. You know, our opponents, our two major opponents, Charlie Crist and Marco Rubio, have millions in their coffers, literally millions of dollars. But we don't believe it's money that wins a campaign. We believe it's capturing people's hearts that wins a campaign. But it's getting out there to those people. You got to get to them. And what they do is they take money and they buy radio and television ads and they get their name out there. But they don't really go out and meet people and find out what's important to the people because they think they already know. And so yesterday, Donnie and Gail and Lee and Derek and about 7 of us went up to White Springs. And we parked the bus and we just walked around and talked to the residents of White Springs. They couldn't believe a Senate candidate was coming there to talk to them, you know, and they really appreciated that. And we just sat there and talked to them and about their lives and what's important to them and just took our time with them. And so I know that when we left there, those people are going to be talking about that. They're talking to their families, they're talking to their friends about this unusual candidate that came to White Springs to spend time with them. So I want to read you a portion of the Word of God now, and I want us to see that it really is not about numbers in God's kingdom anyway. In the worldly kingdom, it is. I'm reading from the book of Judges, the 6th chapter, actually in 7th chapter is the portion of the story of Gideon that I want to just read. And chapter 1 says, Then Jerubbaal, who was Gideon, and all the people that were with him rose up early and pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said unto Gideon, The people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands. And here's the key part to this whole story. He says, Lest Israel vaunt itself against me, saying, My own hand hath saved me. And of course the story went on that Gideon had 32,000 men with him. On the first cut he lost 22,000, and the second cut he lost all but 300. And with 300 men they went in there and they routed the Midianites and the Amalekites, and they won the battle. It's one of the most famous stories in biblical history. And I believe God gave that to us for when we are looking like all the odds are against us and the deck is stacked, that we know that with God nothing is impossible. So that we know. And one of my favorite quotes is by Margaret Mead. She said, Never doubt that a small and committed handful of thoughtful citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever happens. And so this morning we're here, we're facing a huge army. But it's interesting what God has already done, and we haven't hardly lifted a finger. When Charlie Crist was talking about switching over as an independent, we were all thinking, well, how's that going to affect us? And we realized that really it would be to our advantage for him to do that, because everywhere we were going, people would say to us, well, you know, you're splitting the vote. You're splitting the vote. You know, the old split the vote argument and vote the lesser of the two evils. And we would try to rationalize with them. You know, I would tell them things like, listen, there are consequences to our decisions that we make. Yep. There are spiritual rules in life. One of them is that you reap what you sow. I mean, anybody that's spent any time walking this planet, I don't expect this young man and this young lady over here. And my daughter's starting to understand that. My 10-year-old over here. This is my youngest one, Olivia. Olivia, say hi to everybody. And when we do something good, God rewards us. When we do something evil, it comes back to us. And so we reap what we sow. God has given unto every man and woman a conscience. And when we take that conscience and we abuse it, and we do the wrong thing with our conscience, then we reap consequences. And I actually believe that the reason that the United States is in the condition that we're in today is, number one, we've turned our backs on God. Number two, one of the consequences of that is that when it comes to politics, which is one of the most important decisions that any of us make, is to the political decisions that we make, because they determine how our cities are run, our municipalities, how our state is run, and eventually how our nation is run. And if we compromise our spirituality, and if we compromise our conscience and continue to do that year after year after year on the local, state, and federal level, what you end up with is what we've got. That's what you've got. And so I tell people, when you go in and you vote for the lesser of two evils, you've just voted for evil. Unfortunately, in America, in most races, you don't get much of a choice. That's not the case this time around. If you'll notice, there are all kinds of people coming out of the woodwork like me. They're just citizens. They're not politicians. They're citizens, and they're sick and tired. They're fed up with having these slick-talking politicians get up there and give you the party line and just regurgitate the talking points from their party and expect you and me to believe that they're for real, like we're a bunch of idiots. Okay? And so that's basically what you've got. Now you're starting to see people that are for real, like Rand Thomas. Look what just happened, Rand Paul up in Kentucky. I mean, the Republican establishment was absolutely livid about this guy winning that campaign. I mean, they poured millions of dollars to try to defeat him, but he won. And he's a libertarian. Okay, but he's running on the Republican ticket because he feels like that's the only way you can win. And pretty much it is. But I believe in this race here in Florida that because of the way that the dynamics of this race, you've got right now there's about 20-something candidates. You've got a bunch of write-ins. A bunch of people just wrote their names in. Okay, anybody can do that, by the way. But to qualify, you have to either get 112,476 signatures, but the supervisors of elections will tell you you need about 10% more than that, because we're going to throw a bunch of them away because they're not going to be any good. You can't even read half of them, okay? And so you need about 125,000 signatures to get on the ballot for U.S. Senate, or you need $10,440 if you're running as a party candidate, or I think it's $6,960 if you're running no party affiliation, NPA. Okay, so we're running on the Constitution Party, and it costs us $10,440 to qualify. So I'm one of the qualified party candidates. Now, if some of you don't know anything about the Constitution Party, if you go look on their platform on the website, it is absolutely the most conservative platform. You know, it's kind of like what the Republican Party was when it first started. And in their attempt to enlarge their tent over the years, they just continue to move further and further to the left, and basically have kicked all of us conservatives under the bus. And so now what we've got is, you've got about 11 million voters in Florida. Now you've got one front runner in the Democratic, well actually there's Kendrick Meek is getting all the attention, but he's running against the former mayor of Miami, Maurice Ferre. And then there's another guy who just threw his hat in the race, who's supposedly a multi-millionaire in a Democratic ticket. I remember his name?
Green, I believe.
Yeah, something like Green. So those three are going to fight for the liberal vote, and then all the others, the independents and the conservatives, are going to be split up. Okay, so on the Republican side, you'll have about 6 candidates, and Marco Rubio will no doubt win that race, all right, for the conservatives in the Republican side. And then you've got everybody else. And so out of 11 million votes, It's only going to take 26% to win this race. It'll only take about 26% of the vote. So and Charlie Crist did that by deciding to run as an independent. He actually split the vote. So now nobody can come to us with that argument anymore, because we say, wait a minute, hold on. We didn't split the vote, Crist split the vote. A former Republican, by the way, split the vote. Okay? So for those of you who are dyed-in-the-wool Republicans, there's a perfect example of what we're trying to say, is that people who run, for the most part, on a party platform, their allegiance is not to the people, their allegiance is first to the person who butters their bread, which is the party. Okay? Simple as that. I mean, it's not rocket science, it's simple stuff. Their allegiance, if the party says to them, like say for example on the drilling thing, we all know